Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast, your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
Starks of Winterfell theme can mean only one thing, that I'm still obsessed with them despite them not appearing since the first scene of episode 1 of season 2. We are talking House of the Dragon season 2 episode 7 today. I am Sam. Joining me, it's my partner in crime, it's Stefan.
Hey buddy, penultimate episode time.
It is, and the title of that episode was...
The Red Sowing.
Did you understand why that was the title?
I only kind of linked it to blood and the beginning opening credits where the thread is red. That's kind of where I went to.
Oh, okay.
So no is probably the answer.
So it was like completely no idea to me, like this bizarre. However, I then had a theory later on. And by the way, I've got no idea if this is right. I've not like looked this up or anything. I just had this theory later on. In the books that the show's based on, when she was grabbing lowborns like bastards, they were called the dragon seeds. So they were like, you know, the bastard seed of the dragon. And they like called them all, and they called them the dragon seeds. And I was thinking, you know, you sow seeds like farming. And they all got kind of fucked up. So the red sowing kind of was what I thought might have been it.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, could be completely wrong, but that was where my head went. So we do have... It is the penultimate episode.
It didn't feel very penultimate episode, but then I guess we know there's a third season coming, so therefore it's not like the big finale, so to speak, is it?
Yeah,
I'm expecting next week to end on like a cliffhanger, and us all to go, "Oh, you naughty people, give us another episode."
Yeah, considering it's a 2-year wait for the show as well, it's it's a weird one because I said that to you. I messaged you and said like, "Oh, I've watched it and moved the story along, and you know it was okay, and there was some really good stuff in it, but it didn't feel like the kind of I don't know. It just didn't feel like a kind of." Oh my god, I must watch next week. Does that make sense? It's like...
Oh, 100%, yeah. Like, you normally kind of get... With a lot of the shows we've watched, you kind of get like a mid-season finale if it's a longer show.
Yeah.
And that always ends on a cliffhanger, so you want to come back for the second half. Or if it's just like a one short series like this is, the penultimate episode normally ends, or something happens during that episode that makes you go... Oh my god, next week is going to be insane.
Yeah, and so...
This week, it ends with a really cool visual. At the end, the very ending is a really cool visual.
I mean, there's loads of stuff in the episode that's good.
I think it's one of those episodes that, like you say, the storyline has progressed.
Yeah. For
sure. But maybe just, in the words of our Discord chat, not enough action.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. There was stuff. So I'm going to walk around a little bit with a few things and then dive into like the sort of bulk of the episode, which is around Rhaenyra and obviously all of the new dragon riders. But I'm going to start, just kick us off with Rhaena, who is leaving the Reach, heading off to Essos. We knew that had been arranged. There's the little kids there and like the little wagon. There's the dragon eggs, and as we hypothesized, the little sod leaves them.
Yeah, I was a bit confused by this.
Now,
like, go on.
She knows there's a dragon on the loose. She has had it in her head. I'm going to claim a dragon. You know, I am blood and fire. I want a dragon. She tried once and it didn't work out. But now she wants to tame the dragon that everyone's dubbed Sheep Stealer. So the Welsh dragon, and she's off to try and find it. I mean, there's two parts to this. One, I mean, if she manages to claim a dragon, then Rhaenyra certainly has the Air Force now. But
Oh, definitely. What about the youngsters that she has been entrusted by the Queen?
This is it. Like, they are marching off to Essos with those eggs, which we now know end up, like, years and years later being delivered to Daenerys as a wedding gift. So they are being marched off to Essos, and without her there to kind of oversee what's happening with them, what's going to happen. It's bizarre. I don't like. She can't just claim that dragon, rock up on Dragonstone, and be like, "Look," and everyone be like, "Well done. Where are the kids?"
Yeah, where's the kids and the baby artillery? Where's happened to them?
Yeah,
yeah.
So it seems very strange to me. I'm not quite sure what's in her head other than, I want a dragon, I want a dragon, I want a dragon, I want a dragon. Which, to be fair, if I was alive in this world, I think I'd want a dragon as well.
I mean, I'd rather want a dragon than be against a dragon, that's for sure.
Yeah. Although claiming one does appear to be quite hazardous.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get onto that scene soon.
We will. So that's left me kind of scratching my head a little bit along the lines of, there's no win there for you. You claim the dragon and go back like some victorious numpty, you're gonna get slaughtered for it. You you kind of fail to claim the dragon, you're dead, because the thing will eat you, burn you, will treat you like a sheep.
Yeah.
And so no matter whatever, those kids are now left on their own, carted off to Essos by, cells, the kind of guards or whatever, but,
Do you fully trust the guards to not
just like, by the way, these kids are Targaryens, how much, It's kind of, look, we got a couple of baby dragons, how much? Don't trust the lowborn. Whew. Going off to Harrenhal, Daemon has another vision. He only has one this week.
I was so glad by that. I'm not going to lie to you. I was so glad.
Now, I, like you and like many people, have found the series for Daemon to be a little bit frustrating. His actions and motivations have been very self-serving, and these visions, we again hypothesized a couple of weeks ago, they're like bringing him back to where we all thought he was in the first place. So it's felt a bit wasted to me, anyway. It's felt a bit like that's who I thought he was. So why are we having to do all this? He sees his brother, the late king, now basically like he's decaying in his grave. It was like something out of, A Christmas Carol.
It was, for a split second, there was a second where he sits on the bed next to him.
Yeah.
And I really thought he was seeing his own self, like he has the crown out in his hand, and it was like it was going to be his dead self going, "Is it all worth it just for this?" Yeah. And then he starts talking, and I'm like, "Oh no, okay, it's not who I thought it was." Okay.
Now, Paddy Constantine, who plays the late king, is phenomenal in this role. He really nailed it for me.
Yes.
And any scene that he's in, even though we've had a couple now with these sort of visions, he's still so good. And he again in this just nails this. Like,
it is brilliant.
Like, this crown destroys you. Like, I never wanted it. Like, you always wanted it. I never wanted it. And it destroys you. It like breaks the person wearing it. And it was just really interesting because in initially my mind was like of this kind of like, he's seeing this, and it's like all of these visions are leading him to be like, yeah, do you know what? I don't want to be king. However, there is this little weird thing that did pop into my mind, which is he's had this vision of his brother, like, this crown destroys whoever wears it.
Yep.
And now Daemon's going to turn back around and be like, yeah, Queen Rhaenyra for the win, y'all.
Let her wear it.
Yeah.
Destroy her, not me.
Yeah. So, like, I'm not sure if that was the intent in this, or whether I've just delved too much into it. But it's kind of like, if he now flips again and is like, yeah, I'm king consort, no the crown nowhere near me, oh yeah, she's the boss without a doubt. It's gonna be kind of weird. Like he's had this
Yeah, you're
vision
now
of
kind of.
yeah, this vision saying, "Oh, the crown destroys whoever wears it," and he's like handing it to her, like, "There you go, enjoy."
I will let it destroy my niece slash wife.
My niece slash wife, yes, yes. The Targaryens are gonna Targaryen.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a confusing family tree, that, isn't it?
It's a family bush. I think there's
I think
a lot of
I was watching it when the episode, just sidetracked just quick. I was watching it this week when the episode came out, and due to house renovation and stuff, we currently live with my in-laws.
yeah.
Every now and again, my father-in-law will come. Like, he absolutely adores the boys and stuff like that. So if I'm watching something,
Yeah.
chances are he'll just come sit in and watch with us.
Yeah.
Well, I've got my mother-in-law watching all this stuff as well now, but she came into this one.
Yeah.
And she sat there, and but that famous thing where you have to keep pausing it and explaining, no,
Yeah.
why is that woman living out in the forest? No, right, okay, so pause. I'm going to have to tell you like a good half-hour backstory to this, right? And she was like, oh, why does he keep calling himself the king? And I've like paused it, and I've gone, right. So his brother was the king.
Yeah.
And then his brother's daughter is the rightful queen to the throne. And I'm like explaining it all, and she went, oh, right, okay then. So who's his wife? I was like, oh no, remember I was saying to you about his brother's daughter? Yeah, that's his wife. And she just looked at me and gone, what?
Yeah.
I was like, you think that was bad? You should have come in last week when he was shagging his mother. You think that's bad? What?
Oh, yeah.
She's just looked at me and she's gone, do you know what? I think I'll go phone my friend.
Targaryens are going to Targaryen, man.
So she just got went, yeah, I think I'll phone my friend now. Just got and walked out the room taking phone call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, again, this is all based.
Father-in-law,
This is all based on history. You know, you look at the ancient
I know.
Greeks. You know, they were more love the person next to you. Kind of didn't matter whether they were
brilliant.
related or not.
Yeah.
Now, I did have probably my favourite collection of scenes in the series so far, where we got to meet young Oscar Tully again.
Yes.
Young Oscar Tully, the first time you met him, Daemon suggested he were to smother his grandsire and kill him off to take the crown. And young Oscar has not forgotten this. He is now Lord Paramount of the Riverlands. The River Lords hate Daemon for what he got House Blackwood to do. And so... so Daemon again's a bit of an arrogant prick. Basically talks down to young Oscar, says, you know, you're bound by your oath, let's go sort this out. Starts talking for him to the River Lords, and you can see none of them are impressed. But despite being young, Oscar Tully absolutely takes no shit from Daemon at all. And
mate, this scene was awesome.
He basically schools his ass, and he goes off. And Daemon at one point is like, careful, young lord, and he's like,
watch your tongue.
And he's like, do you want this army or not? And Daemon then, I think, has to go, you're right, you are going to have to call me a prick, because everyone here hates me. All right, I get it. Fair enough. And he's like, I got no love for Daemon Targaryen. The way he's acted here has been barbaric. He's been a prick. You know, he just went off, and I was like, oh my God, this is so good. And you could see the River Lords, like, one by one being like, okay, little Oscar. Yeah, all right, we're Team You, fair enough. And then it gets to, like, how they're going to deal with the Blackwoods. And, like, this was fascinating to me. The Black was, like took the nail off with his sword. Like, was the first one to do it. Like, oh, Oscar Tully, you're my liege lord, definitely. And he's like, yeah, thanks. But what you did was messed up, and you got to pay for it.
Yeah, I just did what the king asked me to do.
So Oscar makes Daemon kill him.
Yeah.
That was so... Like, that was such a power play. That was such a kind of... You want the Riverlands?
I kind of felt for the Blackwoods there, because, in fairness, we do know that Daemon is a bit of a dick.
Oh, monumentally, yeah.
They did as they were told. You know, they might have taken it a bit further.
Well, I felt Oscar kind of nailed it when he said, yeah, you were told to do it, but, like, you didn't need, like... You didn't need much to go and just be absolutely awful.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like we've also realised that Daemon's not the best at giving instructions this season.
oh, yeah. He's not.
We do feel he's not
clear
detailed.
enough.
No, there's definitely no kind of clear, precise detail. It's more a case of that's the end result. However you get there, whatever.
He puts on his war crimes hoodie and goes to town, basically.
Yeah, but like there was absolutely no hesitation in my mind that Daemon would just go and kill him. So I kind of felt a little bit for the Blackwoods there, like Well, they may have done a bit more than they should have done.
I was going to say,
instructed.
I do, and I don't, because it was pretty obvious to us that the Blackwoods and the other
not good people
are just kind of hating each other. So they needed no excuse to fight. Like there was no reason needed to go and do that. And
no.
he like was given a nudge on the lines of, hey, there's certain things the Crown shouldn't be seen doing, but you can kind of force the matter. And the guy was like, yeah, okay, I'll go do that. I will smash babies in their cribs. I will, grab and rape every woman. I will do that. And everyone was like, whoa, you took, you took that nudge of instruction and went like balls deep. Like that's not the way to go.
Yeah, do you know what? I've taken back that feeling sorry for them when you put it like that.
Yeah. So it was kind of like, but the way Oscar Tully did, like this power move of like, this is the Riverlands. I'm in charge here, and he calls in the king consort, the prince. At one point, I was like, "Oh, mate, you're amazing." When
he called him the prince, that was the moment where I was like, "Oh, he's taking no prisoners here."
He's just like taking and he's right. He's like, I am the Lord Paramount. I need in front of these lords to be in charge, so they follow me. I have sworn an oath, like my grandsire swore an oath to Queen Rhaenyra. And I am not old enough and wise enough to go back on what he believed. And I was like, yes, kid. Like, that is, like, you could see the adults around him being like, okay, all right, yeah, we're on board. Team Oscar. And then the power play to make Daemon kill Blackwood was just so good.
Yeah, in front of them all as well. So it's like, yep, okay, this guy means business.
So Daemon has finally, thanks to young Oscar Tully, finally raised an army in the Riverlands. He finally has this large host, an army that could take Sir Criston Cole on. He finally has done it. That being said, we are still, has he raised this as King Daemon, or has he raised this as King Consort in the name of Queen Rhaenyra?
Yep.
I think the Riverlands and Oscar Tully made it abundantly frigging clear they are Queen Rhaenyra and he is the prince or king consort.
yeah, they are not going for King Daemon at all. No, they are very much, no, we have a queen, thank you.
With all of these visions and everything that he's seen and everything, I wonder if actually that, from Oscar Tully, is the real reason he's going to bend the knee back to his niece wife.
I reckon so. I reckon he's realised he hasn't got a choice now.
Yeah, no one. I mean, when one of the lords said to him, like, we'd rather burn than follow a tyrant. I mean, that must have hit home, surely. I also love.
Wouldn't have helped his ego. No.
I also love the guy who's like his castle that he took. What's his name? Strong. Who's just like, like, oh shit, all the time. He's just got this look of permanent surprise and horror, like, oh no, here we go.
He's like the worst lord ever, isn't he? Really,
but he's fun. I like him.
He's so funny to watch.
It's good,
like,
you would not
kind of trust him. We're going to battle. Let's have dinner first.
No, that's my kind of lord. I'm up for that. So I've taken this castle. Yeah, all right. Do you want some chicken?
Yeah, you may have done, but we have got wine.
I mean, the castle's a shithole, so you're welcome. Yeah.
If you could actually relocate us, that'd be great.
Yeah, now heading off to King's Landing, King Aegon is up and moving, but is clearly in agony. Like, every step is, like, screaming in pain. And the Maester's trying to help him, and I'm thinking, the Maester's obviously thinks he needs to, like, try and move around, so, But then we learn that actually, no. the Maester thinks he should still be resting, and it's Laris who's kind of instructing the Maester to get him up and moving, and is saying to the king, like, you need to get stronger, you need to work harder. I am not sure what to make of that, because Laris is a snaky, slimy sod, and he's very self-serving. Like on the surface, that appears to be, come on, my king, we need you because your brother is a homicidal maniac. Yeah. But then on the flip side, the prince basically put him in his place. Whereas the king, he's wormed his way in there. He's kind of got power via his influence on the king. Whereas Prince Aemon was like, you go fetch Otto Hightower, that's all you're good for.
And if Laris's kind of play was all about power, well, he currently has none.
Exactly.
Like, he has less than none. He's not even like anything to...
Well, he's the master of whisperers, but he was appointed by the king, and obviously Prince Aemon's already made it clear he doesn't like him. So at this point, and there's also a scene in this where like someone comes to him and is like, oh, by the way, it also made me laugh. Like, oh, I've got this information that a dragon's been claimed, and where do you get the information from? Oh, well, basically it was like my sister's friend's cousin who knows a fisherman who saw another fisherman who said they saw it. And I was like, oh, dear God, it's as bad as transfer rumours in football.
It was just the way he kind of went, well, my son's friends, brother's friends, hairdresser's niece. Yeah. I loved it. It was just this track of how far back it goes. And it was like, okay, well.
No, it was
probably
funny.
Don't trust that one then.
No, absolutely not. It was, it was quite funny. The other thing that was funny, kind of, I don't know where it's funny. It's just like Laris. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know his motivation. I mean, what do you think? Because I've kind of laid out. There's like, is he trying to get the king back because he wants the king back because he knows he's better than Aemon, or is he trying to get the king back for his own purposes? What do you think?
I think he probably knows just how nuts Aemon is.
Yeah, without doubt.
And does he want? I still think he's doing the power play though.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just because he's a weird slime little bastard, or
I think it's a power play.
I think it's a power play myself.
Now, his original route to have any power in King's Landing was via Alicent and his foot fetish, which, again, I'm glad your in-laws didn't see that scene.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Remember him just jacking it, looking at her feet? Anyway.
There's a lot of scenes that I'm glad they haven't seen.
Yeah. Now, Alicent is, we know, feeling kind of displaced. No power, no authority. She's gone from having a very clear voice and influence to nothing. She can see that Aemon's not a good boy, and it's her boy. And she has no influence there at all. So she decides to take herself off camping with one guard.
Yeah, that was so funny. My first thought was, this just shows my thoughts on her character. My first thought was, oh, that guard's in for some.
Yeah, that kind of that's very on brand for her.
Am I alone with a guard? Oh, my clothes have gone.
Yeah. Oh no! Look at me naked. Quick, mount me. She's not the best. I love the actress, by the way, but the character of Alicent, I've got very little. Like I understood her misinterpreting the king's final words, but at the same time, like, that was her best friend that she screwed, and like was just so willing.
Ironically, one of the few people she hasn't. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure she probably would if she got the chance, but she just generally is like, no, not good people's for me.
No.
And she in this has this weird kind of floating in the lake moment, and, you know, like I said, wants to stay out camping, and the guard's like, how long are we staying here? It's like, oh, I don't know yet.
Yeah, when do you want to return? I haven't decided if I am or not yet.
Yeah. So that guard's like, oh, you're
okay.
shitting me. Like I got a family back there. What the hell?
I knew I should have walked the other way this morning.
Yeah, like this morning, like I knew I should have sent someone else to see you. It just
Yeah.
now her sort of arc in this is weird. Like she's gone very kind of self-involved. This is the reason why I don't really like her character very much. She does have children back there, one of whom is the king, who is now severely burned and messed up. Surely he'd want his mother by his side. But no, screw that. She doesn't want any of that noise. Aemon is her son and is all about going out death and destruction and the small folk suffering. But no, she's not going to stand around and try and influence him or anything. She's just given up on that. And she also has a daughter who has just had a child murdered, was involved in a riot with her where people were trying to like get at them. So she's probably experiencing quite a lot of trauma herself right now. But no, Alicent's like, I need to go float in a lake.
I thought she was going to drown herself. I really did. There was that moment where it's happening, and I'm like, oh God. Oh, okay. She's gone off to walk into the lake by herself, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
She doesn't. No.
I mean, maybe if she'd done that, I would have understood and followed where they're going with that particular aspect of the story. But
it does just seem so. Like my first thought when she went off into the forest after the whole she's going to go bang a god. My next thought was, is she going to try and go to Dragonstone?
Oh yeah.
Has she realised that no, my son is just freaking nuts? This is going to end out in all-out war. There's nothing I can do. I need to go and like Renee did. She kind of came in. I'm dressed up as the. I thought maybe she'll do the same and she'll try and calm it down herself. And I thought maybe that's where she's going.
Yeah.
And she's taken one guard because she can either trust that guard or a guard against the Queen's word. She should win that.
Yeah.
So that's where I thought it was going. And then it turned out that actually she just wanted to go float in the lake and relax for a little bit. And now I'm like, yeah, I got no idea where that's going.
No.
Like, is that literally just her washing her hands of it going, I am not involved in that shit anymore?
Possibly. But again, it just seemed weird. Like, there's a lot of stuff in this series where, sort of exposition, where it's just like, I don't get why we needed this. Like, there doesn't appear to be a purpose to that other than just like she's having a tough time. Well, surely we all knew that anyway.
Yes.
And like I said, she is still a mother, and you're a parent, I'm a parent. When your kids are experiencing the level of pain her son is, the level of grief her daughter is, you just up and leave them, go camping in the woods. It just isn't, it doesn't make sense to me. And it's one of the reasons I don't think she's good people's.
Yeah, like I say, that's the point. Yeah, her daughter lost her child in the most horrific way.
Yeah. So I mean, I said that a minute ago, and then got caught in that riot.
That's it. Yeah. So
like,
going back to that,
all the trauma.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing at all.
Now on Dragonstone, we have quite a lot happen. Rhaenyra, at the very start of the episode, goes and meets Addam of Hull. And Addam of Hull, like all of us suspected, has just got a look on his face of like, seriously, this friggin' dragon came and got me. Like, I
didn't do anything.
Yeah, like I am freaking out right now. And I think he conveys that brilliantly, but in a real kind of, you know, she's like, you stand with a dragon of House Targaryen. He's like, don't I friggin' know it? Now the two dragons are kind of giving each other a lip as well whilst the two of them are talking, and I've seen a lot of very funny videos where people have translated it. Like my favourites are like where they're actually having a go at each other, like, look at you, ugly bitch, and stuff like that. It's like, oh, come and have a go then. What are you doing? And then people have put the like, what's your name? Which is a funny bit of audio. But my favourite probably is like, what you got? Look, I found one. I love him. Can I keep him? Which is probably my favourite. Yeah, tell the queen I love him and I want to keep him. So that one made me laugh. But The dragons are kind of like shouting at each other. Queen Rhaenyra, she's getting closer to him. The dragon's kind of a bit defensive, like, "Hey, that one's mine. Back off." So I find that quite interesting. So that dragon has picked its rider. It's not the other way around.
Very much so. And the poor bastard spent like ages running away trying to hide from the dragon that was going to eat him.
Yeah.
And instead has now flown it to this beach. And there's still kind of like, at the very beginning of the scene, you can still see there's that little bit of tension of like, oh God, why has he brought me here?
Yeah.
Oh God, he's brought me here in front of the Queen. It's going to eat me. Oh my God.
Now he bends the knee.
Can you bring it to Dragonstone, mate? I'll try.
Yeah, no. Bit of a Game of Thrones throwback here. Bends the knee very quick. Makes it abundantly clear, like, look, this is a gift that's been bestowed upon me by the gods. I can't deny it, but I serve you. You're my queen. And so you see this look on her face of like, oh, thank the gods. Like, I really, I really couldn't have done with like another like pain in my ass.
Yeah, death to the queen. No.
Yeah, like, I serve the true king. Aegon. Oh, do you? Of course you do. Now she's like, now there's this funny line which is like, can you get to Dragonstone? He's like, I think so. I mean, I really don't know. I'll try. I'll follow you, sort of thing. Like, you know, when two people are on a motorway, like, you don't go too fast. I gotta keep up.
Yeah.
So they do manage to get back to Dragonstone, and of course, people back there are kind of freaking out. There's a lot of old traditionalists, like, you can't have a lowborn on a dragon. Now,
mate, they're pissed, aren't they?
Very funny to me.
Seriously pissed.
Yeah, very funny to me that Corlys is like, oh, well, you know, we'll have to wait and see what the Queen says and who it is. And they're like, dude, when you find out.
Yeah.
And he does find out. Corlys then goes to talk to Addam, which is a funny scene where Addam's like, hello, daddy. But obviously doesn't want to say that. And Corlys is like, hello. Sorry, I just did forget, actually, that Addam is asked by Rhaenyra, like, who are your parents? And he doesn't say. Like, I really thought, well, my mum's probably no one you've heard of, but you may have heard of my dad. He's kind of a big deal.
You've been out on a boat.
Yeah. You know, like, all the boats? Yeah, it's kind of him. You know, that place called Driftmark? Yeah, kind of. I mean, I personally think that the minute someone was to say, don't you think he looks a bit like Lord Corlys? She's going to be like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, he does have the blood of old Valyria. But Corlys says to him, like, we've not ever been dragon riders. He's like, we got the blood of old Valyria, but we're not dragon lords. We're of the sea. So, like, I'm sorry, I don't know your mum's parents. Which is kind of a really polite way of like, look, I just nailed your mum. I don't know who she was, really.
She was in a whorehouse and went to town and left.
Yeah, a couple of times since. Two boys, you know, proud of you guys, but, you know, any holes a goal. And that was all I needed from her. Now, it was kind of a polite way of saying that. And the kid's like, oh, I don't fucking know. Like, you know, we didn't really focus on family trees, you know, in our house. It was more like, are we starving today? No, yay. We get to try and not starve tomorrow. Whereas you fancy lordy git, dad, you know, we're feasting. So
God, he owes some maintenance, doesn't he?
Yeah, doesn't he just? Some back pay.
Car support, yeah.
So Corlys talks to Addam. It's kind of a nice scene because Addam, as we know from conversations he's had with Alan before, does really want his dad to acknowledge him. So when he just
wants a well done son.
When he does like a little bit of like a kind of like a well done to him, he's like, Daddy loves me. so that was kind of a really good scene. Now later on, of course, you actually see Corlys as well talking to Alan, and we get what I think is some of the best dialogue throwback kind of thing in this, where he says to him, like, oh, your brother's a dragon rider. He's like, you know, you wanna give that a go? And Alan's like, no, I'm salt and sea. This is me. This is my life. And the reason why I loved that is, of course, he has that conversation with Baela. And like, Baela, I would pass Driftmark to you. And she's like, no, I'm fire and blood. Driftmark needs to be salt and sea. And here he is in front of his bastard son, who, of course, Rhaenyra can legitimise. You know, he can just go to her and say, look, these two kids are my bastards. Please make them, you know, legit. And she does a little ceremony, and boom, all of a sudden they're both of Driftwood, and then he can make him his heir.
Yeah.
And I kind of think in that moment he's looking at him like, oh, okay, kid, you've just talked your way into a bit of a promotion. Good boy.
Yeah, you saved my life, so
Yeah.
I do owe you one. And maybe I'll just give you a throne.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I like that. Now, Addam and Alan of Hull so far have just seemed like really good stand-up guys. And I'm hoping that I'm right with that. I'm really hoping that they continue to be exactly as they appear to be. Because
I don't know, it's Game of Thrones. It always
Yeah.
makes me worry that actually they go and kick puppies in their spare time or something. You know, like
Yeah.
no one is actually a good person in this.
damn
And I'm
puppy
like,
kickers.
that
So
was like the nicest, worst thing I could think of.
So we're going to keep an eye on them for
Yeah.
kicking puppies. Now, Rhaenyra and Mysaria have a nice discussion as well. Now, just before we get into this, something I found out this week, which I found really fascinating, is last week's episode, those two locked lips. They had a really passionate kiss in a really sort of good moment. And there was this thing that went round, it's like, oh, that wasn't scripted. And I was kind of like laughing at it, like, yeah, right, whatever. And then the showrunners come out and confirmed that that wasn't scripted. There was no romance between the two of them, but the two actors felt such a heat between them on set, they just went with it. And they decided, actually, yeah, that really works, and kept it in. I mean, I don't know about you, but it's kind of like, I suddenly want to be an actor.
It makes you
Hang
wanna
on a
go
minute,
into it a bit more,
snogging
doesn't it?
Jennifer Lawrence wasn't in the script. Oh, wasn't it? I kind of felt it.
Felt the moment.
Yeah, you're her brother. Oh, sorry, Targaryens.
Yeah, is it not the same show? No.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Sorry.
So yeah, I suddenly wish I'd paid more attention in drama class, but it was just interesting to me because it felt like such a powerful kind of scene with like so much connotations to it, and obviously they filmed it, looked at it, and thought, yeah, that's really good, and have built around it now. But from my point of view, knowing that they kind of just went off script, felt it in the moment, and did it, it's kind of it's weird. It's a bit kind of like, oh, fair play, I think.
Could you be one of those people like you're stood there with the camera, you are filming away, you've got the script next to you, so you know what's about to happen and who you got to be filming. That suddenly happens, and you're like, "This feels weird filming this."
Well, it's like if you're the director,
I
do you
haven't got this written down.
scream cut, or do you let them finish the scene and then go, guys, something going on with you two?
The guy that bursts in the middle and breaks it all up, he must have been well fucking surprised. He thought he was busting in, and they were going to be sat at a table talking.
Well, I'm guessing it happened, and then they were like, right, okay, we're now going to adjust things to do this because it does really work. So the two of them got to snog once, and they were like, okay, we're now going to snog 50 times from all the different angles. Nice. Again, should have paid more attention in acting class. But the two of them, the conversation this week is quite interesting because Rhaenyra's like, lowborns, dragons, it's not good because, part of the whole House Targaryen, we are divine, we are the rightful rulers is because of our dragons. If anyone can just jump on a dragon, doesn't that diminish our claim, our power? And Mysaria makes a really great point, which is, look, all of these highborn people have screwed you over. Like, they've swore oaths and then gone back on them. It's your own brother who is like literally fighting to kill you. Surely, like, you must no longer hold highborn in this high regard because where's all their oaths? Where's all this things come from? And Rhaenyra's like, yeah, you're right. Let's get an army of bastards. And I kind of love that line.
I love, we'll have a. I had it here written down, the actual line, but I liked it.
Raise me an army of
that's
bastards.
It. Well, then let us raise an army of bastards. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I did like that. I thought that was a good line. And by the way, based on like Game of Thrones, Jon Snow was bastard in air quotes.
He was
pretty good.
Yeah, he did all right, didn't he?
Yeah, he was alright. I mean, it turned out he wasn't a bastard in the end, but, you know, for a good while everyone thought he was. Now, speaking of bastards, Jace is having some problems.
When did he turn into? I mean, don't get me wrong. He had the massive kind of glow up between season 1 and season 2.
Yeah.
It was a really, really long journey.
It was. You go to the north, you grow up fast. Yeah.
Quick.
Yeah.
But he's come back a little bit of a spoilt prick.
So you said this to me. You
You
said this to me in a message, and I'm kind of on the fence with this. So I don't like the way he speaks to his mother. I think that's
God,
a very it's very teenagey.
Yeah.
It's very teenagey, but also know your frigging place. That's the queen. Like, you're lucky she's not like a little bit more. I'm sorry, what?
Like, considering he's made a few comments in this about you are the queen, you are the throne, you are the reason we're doing this, you must be saved, you must. For fuck's sake, Mum, it's not fair. Like, the next thing, it's like, oh.
Now, look, I know where you're going with that, and I think it's fair, but let me just offer this as a little bit of a kind of a side thing to it, which is he knows he's a bastard. He knows no one can prove it, but he knows he is. He's not stupid, and he says that to her, like, I'm not an idiot. I know.
Did you expect me to be born with dark hair?
Yeah, it's like I know. Like, I know, and everybody knows, but no one can prove it, so I'm kind of who I am. So I think he's actually struggling with identity. I think he's kind of, like, struggling a bit of, like, who am I? So he's kind of steered into the one thing I definitely am is Targaryen. Like, that I'm definitely the blood of the dragon. I have my own dragon. That is who I am. I am a dragon rider of House Targaryen. You know, I am the heir. So he kind of has that going for him, and that's kind of his whole identity. And now we've got this thing where, well, actually, any old bastard could jump on a dragon, and I think he feels threatened by it. I think he feels like, well, hang on a minute. How am I different? How am I special? How am I like anything if any old bastard can jump on a dragon? And all of a sudden, like, the one thing that I was clinging on to is, like, mine, and I am a Targaryen. All of a sudden, Jeff from down the road has got a bit of blonde hair. Oh, and now he's claimed a dragon. Brilliant. I think that's where he's acting out. I think that's where that's coming from.
The identity crisis of what makes me special. Yeah,
which I get. Like, I understand that. I don't think the way he's going about it is very mature, but he's not very mature. He is still a teenager. And I think all of us in our lives can look at moments as a teenager where we've said stuff to people, parents perhaps, and gone, ooh, yeah, looking back, maybe that particular
Christ, that was me last week.
Yeah. So you do have those teenage outbursts, and I think perhaps she's being understanding based on that. Like, okay, you're still a teenager. All right, I'm going to let you get away with this. I do think at some point she's going to backhand him like, oi, enough now. I am still the queen. I am your mother.
Yeah.
Do not forget it. Like, you know, she slapped her counsel about. I don't think she's beyond giving her son a quick, sharp wallop either.
Back of the head.
So I do kind of think we need to balance the Jay stuff. I do think his temper tantrums could become very annoying if it continues. However, I did kind of understand where he was coming from with this, because he was basically voicing the same thing the dragon priests and all the guardians of the dragon were making. Who, by the way, again, and this is another thing, who do they think they're talking to? Like, Rhaenyra is the queen, the rightful heir of the Seven Kingdoms, and they're mouthing off. Like, that wouldn't happen to a king. Like, I genuinely believe they've written this in, like, scenes like this, because they're trying to demonstrate just how patriarchal the society is in this, that even though they're on her side, like, they're there with her as the queen, they're still talking to her, and they'd never do that to Daemon. Could you imagine Daemon stood there with his sword to one side and them going, no, we're not doing what you want us to do, because, you know, no, it's against tradition. He just draw his sword and kill one of them and be like, okay, what the rest of you think?
Yeah, that's that tradition gone. Next.
And it's almost like she's so level-headed and so much like her father in the sense of, I'm about peace, I'm about keeping everyone, that, like, when she slapped that council member around, it was like, for some strange reason, you've all got this illusion not to fear me. And I kind of feel like it's getting to the point where she needs to actually like go, do you know what? Speak to me like that again. Your head's going to be on a pike.
Yeah, do it again. See what happens.
Like, she is clearly the good one in this. Like, Team Black is clearly, she is of trying to be of peace, of everything. But it's getting to the point now where I'm almost like, you know what? You're going to have to snap. You're going to have to do something, because otherwise every week it's someone else talking shit to you. It needs to get dealt with. But she does have this. Massario sends the word out to King's Landing. All of these people are now going to try and see if they can claim a dragon. And there's two people in particular we see is Ulf, who was this guy we weren't sure about, like, and even he doesn't appear that sure now. He's like, well, I think
this scene absolutely cracked me up.
That's the story.
All of them in the pub. Yeah.
It kind of feels like perhaps his mum's told him, like, yeah, you're the bastard of a Targaryen, and he's kind of grown up saying it, and now he's like,
as his friends say,
my
you've
mum
been drinking on this for how long?
But my mum could have been lying. Do you know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden that doubt of like, oh yeah, but my mum was a whore. You know, she could have just made this up.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a funny scene, and then
she did have a lot of clients that week.
Yeah.
It could have been someone else.
Yeah. So he's been kind of press ganged into going, and doesn't look like he wants to be there at all.
Oh man, that whole thing was just hilarious. They're all like, "It's your chance, claim your throne."
Now, as funny as that was, the other character we've seen from the Lowborn, Hugh, it was heartbreaking because his daughter has died of starvation. His wife was like, don't go. Like, I don't, like, it isn't worth the risk. And he tells the story that he is actually the bastard son of a Targaryen princess. And now, backstory, there, before the king that we all knew, the king before, who then had, like, didn't have any heirs, and that's why it went to him. So we had this daughter, and her name was Sarah, and she was an absolute wild one. Like, she couldn't be tamed, and she wanted to live her life not as a princess, like being married off or, you know, being given to an uncle or whatever. She wanted to live her life, and he tried everything, including like locking her in a tower, you know, very, very princess and Tower of Dragons. He tried to send her off like with her sister, who was like a nun, and like that didn't work. So eventually she got so fed up of like trying to be tamed, she went off to Essos and basically became a whore. And because she was a Targaryen and she was beautiful, she basically made loads of money. Like, men travelled from all over to be with a Targaryen. The king completely disowned her when he found out, but she made so much money, and she then had her own, like, she then didn't have to work. She had her own, like, pleasure house and stuff like that. And nobody actually knows if she's still alive during all of this, by the way. Like, during the Dance of the Dragons, everything that's going on, she could still very well just be an older woman living in Essos watching all this, laughing. But she had lots of children. And now it would appear that Hugh Hammer as he's known, is one of them. Now, what is kind of interesting and a bit nerdy for the book readers is the dragon that he then claims in this was technically his grandfather's, the late king, who disowned his mother. It's kind of like the ultimate revenge, a little bit, but also
that's pretty cool.
But also a very, very strong link, and possibly why, when he showed his strength in that moment, standing there, the dragon responded to it like, "Oh, hang on, you're a bit like my last guy."
I recognise that.
Yeah, I like you. Yeah, all right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, go on, hop on.
I had messaged you when that scene came on of like, holy shit!
Yeah,
here's a Targaryen.
Yeah,
we weren't sure up until this point. I still wasn't sure. Like, we were seeing a lot of this character and his wife.
Yeah,
and I know we said earlier in the series, like, is it just this is their way of kind of showing us the low folk? Like, you know, this is what's happening. We've adopted a family to be the ones that kind of show us what's happening outside the castle gate, sort of thing. And that is generally, up until that moment, I still thought that's what this was.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've called for dragons, and then to be talking about it, and then all of a sudden he gives us that speech, and I'm like, oh damn.
Now they all go to Dragonstone. There's a lot of them, And Rhaenyra basically calls the dragon and is like, look, the dragon's going to choose. You all understand the risk. You all understand that, like, if the dragon doesn't want you, you're dead, basically. And they're all kind of stood around a bit nervous, looking at each other. And the one guy steps forward who's got a little bit of a kind of a, you can tell his parents were Targaryen. Years and years of inbreeding.
Definitely.
And
yeah.
she goes up to like the balcony to watch, like Lord Farquaad. Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
I love the amount of references in this to Shrek. It's just amazing.
It is funny.
Yep.
And the dragon's like, yeah, I fancy barbecue. And just lights him up. And just starts chomping and ripping through all of these people until quite literally there's just a couple left. And one of them is Ulf, who's like run away. And of course there's Hugh, who saves this woman's life by standing up to the dragon, expecting to die. And in my head, I'm like, his child's died. I think he's like, I claim a dragon or I die, and I'm happy with that. And so he stands up, and he actually, through standing up, I think that makes the dragon kind of look at him like, oh, okay, maybe you're worthy. Maybe you're the one. And it's interesting because the dragon noises change. I don't know if you picked up on this, but the dragon was like roaring and pissy, and then almost was like purring with him, like, hey, buddy. Yeah, finally, one of you lot showed a bit of backbone. Hop on, big boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was as gory and horrific as those scenes were, and sort of the bravery and how interesting that was. We then had Ulf basically step in dragon eggs, which, you know, considering how precious they are, that's not good. And basically stumble on another dragon that looks at him like, hey, buddy, yeah, I love you. You're mine. And just the dragon just claims him instantly, like nudges him, like, come on, hop on. And that cracked me up. Like the contrast between these two dragons' personalities. This one being like, I don't want a rider, I'm just going to burn you all. And then when someone stands up to him, it's like, oh, okay, someone with balls, fine. Whereas this other one's like, oh my God, a human, I love you.
Yeah, I thought he was dead. Like, he stepped in the egg,
massively, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, mate, we're about to see the end of you, buddy.
Yeah,
oh,
nice to know your mum lied to you, Ulf.
Yes.
But no, Ulf and Hugh do claim dragons. And Ulf, we then basically see him go on a joyride. Now, I've got a question for you, because I'm in two minds on this.
Yeah.
Does Ulf go on a joyride straight away over the tavern where he used to drink, like, check it out, bitches? Or...
Yes.
Yeah, okay, right, you just think that's what it was.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
Or was that actually planned? You know, he's done that so he can do that for sure. But was it actually planned to lure Vhagar and Aemon, knowing his arrogance, knowing how he'd want to chase him? Because when he gets back to Dragonstone, it can't be a coincidence that Rhaenyra and everyone else is there. Dragons mounted, waiting for Vhagar. Like, come on.
I do wonder, because, like, I fully was, no, he has just gone to the cavern to kind of be like, look what I got.
Yeah.
Fucking told you so. I got a dragon.
Yeah.
That was how I was going to see it. But then, when he returns, you have all the dragons there. And, like, Aemon shits himself.
Loved that. Vhagar's like,
oh, come back.
Yeah, Vhagar's like, come on in. Yeah. You know how
do all of you.
You know how I said earlier on that someone's done like a translation to the dragons for that other scene. Someone's done one for this as well, which is basically everyone on Dragonstone being like, "Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough," and Vhagar being like, "Is that Cyrax? Hey, buddy, it's been years." You know. Yeah. So, there's some very funny edits out there. Go find them if you like that sort of thing. But yeah, he does see them all and does. So it's kind of a power play in as much as if he'd followed, he would have been in deep shit because that amount of dragons versus him, even with inexperienced riders, he'd have been in trouble. But
I was trying to work out how many they've got. I think they've now. Is it now they're up to 7?
So Jace has a dragon, Daemon has a dragon, Rhaenyra has a dragon. That's 3, and 3 have just been claimed. That's 6. Baela has a so that's 7.
And if the other little daughter that wants to leave all the other
if Rhaena picks up the sheep stealer, then they've got the Air Force now. Now, definitely. I am going to say something now, which I hope I'm wrong about, but I think I'm not. I think Ulf and Hugh are going to screw everyone over.
You reckon?
How many times did they plant the seed you can't trust lowborns? How many times did they say you're giving dragons to lowborns? This is a bad idea.
Yeah, they did a lot.
No, I don't think Addam goes that way. I think Addam's dedicated and feels that this is a blessing been placed upon him and a chance to prove himself to daddy. And I think Addam will serve, and that's his like, he thinks this is his blessing to do that. I think these two guys have got axes to grind, being lowborn. I think they've got their own agendas, and now they're going to be given all that power. I got a bad feeling about that.
Because both of them, technically, they both have a claim to the throne then?
No, because they're bastards. They're not legitimate. So, they wouldn't have claims, but what they do have is 2 dragons. Like, Hugh has claimed the second biggest dragon in the 7 Kingdoms behind Vhagar. And so that's power. That is an immaculate power. Yeah, like, so if Rhaenyra says, I need you to go and do this, and he says no, what are you going to do? When he's sat on that dragon, what are you going to do? So I do worry about that, because I think they planted that so many times, like so many kind of, oh, don't forget they're lowborn. By the way, remember they're lowborn. Remember, you can't trust the lowborn. It just feels like they were basically Frankie foreshadowing the hell out of it.
Oh, that's got me worried.
Mate, that's all my notes. Is there anything else from this week's episode you wanted to discuss?
I don't believe so.
Well, that is jolly good news. It means I covered everything in my notes. I want to say, as always, a massive thank you to everybody for listening. We do really appreciate it. And everyone who reaches out to us with messages and theories and things, I always reply. Sam at stuffandthangspodcast.com. You can send them in. If you want to send messages to anyone else, well, Stefan and Kaylee, they don't have emails, send them to me, I'll pass them on. We also have all the socials. You can get in touch via all of them, except for Instagram, because we've lost the password.
That's Kaylee's fault. I gave it to Kaylee.
Always blame people who aren't here.
Yeah.
And you can always, if you want to have a direct conversation with us in like a chat room setting, you can join us via Discord. The links for all of which will be in the podcast description. I ought to just pre-record that.
Yeah, it should be like just part of the outro now.
Yeah. I might work on that. But anyway, thank you,
things,
everybody.
Yeah.
We will be back to Westeros for the final time next week. If you're a fan of Marvel, keep an eye on your socials, because we will be discussing the smash hit movie Deadpool and Wolverine very soon. And we will also, if you're a fan of the Lord of the Rings and fans of the Umbrella Academy, our shows discussing those shows that are returning in August will be with you very soon. But on House of the Dragon next week, a final episode. Until then, everybody, you all take care.
And we'll talk soon.
I have no love for Daemon Targaryen. He has dishonoured himself and the crown with his comportment here. Nevertheless, having so little experience to guide me, my best course is to defer to the oath my grandsire swore to King Viserys when he named Rhaenyra his heir.
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.